Say now you better give me grace, say now you better make me happy, Say my God, He didn't answer prayer, Say my God, He didn't answer prayer, Then now you better run my race, Then now you better give me grace, Say my God, pray as they fast now. Baba show me the answer. As I dey pray as they fast now. Baba show me the answer. As I dey pray as they fast now. Baba show me the answer.
It's time to
Pray as they fast now. Baba show me the answer. Timbaji lowuro, adori mi mu. Oluwa show me the way. Oluwa gbe mi dìde. Ìsàlẹ̀ ti sú mi. Òkè mo fẹ́ máa lọ. My help cometh from you. Oh Lord, oh. Every day I dey pray. Every day.
Are we logged in?
I dey hustle. Every day I dey wait for my testimony. Till my life come dey bubble. Poverty no go come near my way. And I will give you my praise. As I dey pray, I dey fast now. Baba show me the answer. As I dey pray, I dey fast now. Baba show me the answer. As I dey pray, I dey fast now. Baba show me the answer. As I dey pray, I dey fast now. Baba show me the answer. You have made me a winner, made me a leader. With you, Jehovah, I no go suffer. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi lọ́wọ́ Olúwa ló wà o. And you make me stronger, you lift me higher among my peers. You make me bigger. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi lọ́wọ́ Olúwa ló wà o. Jẹ́ kí ire mi dé. Olúwa take away my pain. I no want to dey suffer again. Olúwa bless me, bless me, bless me, bless me. As I dey pray, I dey fast now. Baba show me the answer. As I dey pray, I dey fast now. Baba show me the answer. As I dey pray, I dey fast now. Baba show me the answer. As I dey pray, I dey fast now.
Are we ready? Hi, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Flames webinar for the month of February. My name is Hannah Bisong, and I am glad and really ecstatic to be your host for the webinar for this month. Our theme this month is Business Unusual. Yes, business unusual. But before we go into the program, let me just say a quick opening prayer. Please close your eyes. Our Father and our Lord, we thank you, Father, for today. We thank you for the opportunity to be able to learn new things, Father. We thank you, Father, for the gift of life. We thank you for all our facilitators. We thank you for everyone that will be tuning into today's program. Lord, in Jesus' name, speak through our facilitators, in Jesus' name. Speak through them that which would make a humongous difference in the life of all our listeners in the mighty name of Jesus. And that after today, when they begin to birth forth ideas, let it be ideas that will bring fruitfulness to themselves, to their lives, to our church, to our nation and our world at large, in Jesus' name. And so we declare our program open in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. Amen. Once again, everyone, we welcome you to our webinar. My name is Anna Bisong, and I will be your host for the duration of this program. Like I said earlier, we shall be discussing business unusual, which we consider to be the new normal, thanks to the pandemic. The labor market and business in general experienced a major shift in how things can be done. The pandemic have forced a lot of people to birth business ideas, to empower themselves, and force themselves to come to speed with the many developments and changes we have been forced to make to either stay in business or to go back to the drawing board and start afresh. Today, we shall be having Mr. Adeyinka Adeyemi, who will be discussing with us business and business development to help us break new ground, maintain the business we already have going, and how to use the new developments that have risen from the pandemic to our advantage. Mr. Adeyinka Adeyemi is a graduate of the University of Ibadan with a BSc in Political Science and Masters in Public Administration, also from the University of Ibadan. He acquired another Master's in Business Administration and Management from the University of Novara. He kicked off his career as a business developer at Guardian in the year 1990. With 31 years of experience in business, Mr. Adeyinka Adeyemi is the director at Cransworth Marine, Secure ID Limited, and is also the chairman of Intermark Consulting Limited. Please join me, Flame, as we welcome Mr. Adeyinka Adeyemi. Hello, Mr. Yinka. Hmm? Okay, we're trying to reach out, contact Mr. Adeyemi to be sure he's on. Hello, Bimbo. I can see that a few of us are beginning to troop into the program. Please say hello if you can hear me. Okay, while Mr. Yinka is trying to sort out the technical difficulty, we'll take a quick music commercial and sort out our technical difficulties. Please, we shall be back in exactly 5 minutes. Thank you.
Everybody say yeah, 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 yeah. Say yeah, yeah, yeah. Ìbànújẹ́ dópin, ikú dópin, yeah. Ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ dópin, yeah. Àìsàn dópin, yeah. Nítorí ẹni tá à ń retí today. Olùgbàlà aráyé. Ẹni tá à ń retí today. Olùgbàlà aráyé. Jésù ọba. Jésù ọba. Jésù ọba.
Okay, Mr. Adeyinka is online now. Welcome, Mr. Adeyinka. Welcome, Mr. Adeyinka. Okay, so I'll do a quick introduction of Mr. Adeyinka again. So as I said earlier, Mr. Adeyinka Adeyemi is a graduate of the University of Ibadan with a BSc in Political Science and Masters in Public Administration. He acquired another Master's in Business Administration and Management from the University of Novara. Mr. Adeyinka Adeyemi kicked off his career as a business developer at Guardian in the year 1990. With 31 years of experience in the business, Mr. Adeyinka Adeyemi is the director at Crownsworth Marine, Secure ID Limited, and also the chairman of Intermark Consulting. Please welcome everyone. Please, everyone, join me in welcoming Mr. Adeyinka Adeyemi as we unmute him for him to start his session. Thank you. Hello? Please, can you help us and unmute Mr. Yinka?
Can hear me, 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 can hear me.
Okay, yes,
All
Mr.
right.
Yinka, we can hear you.
To business and
Ele, ele,
Fourth Industrial Revolution. And what drives the fourth industrial revolution? Technological breakthroughs. Digital, virtual, internet. (3D) printing, platforms that are digital, virtual, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. Every area of our lives are being impacted by this change that is called the fourth industrial revolution. I want you to understand the point I'm making, these foundations that I'm laying this morning. So times have changed. The days of brick and mortar is over. We're lucky in your generation, and you, I count myself one of you guys. We're lucky revolution. And I'm sure a lot of you will understand what I'm saying. If you look at the spate of developments in terms of technology, even on your phones that you carry, the different applications that you are bombarded with on a regular basis, and that has become very pervasive, very common. You will understand the point that I'm making. So we're in this generation experiencing the fourth industrial revolution. They call it 4IR. It's a digital world. Can we go to the next slide? It's a digital world, it's a connected world through the use of technology. Everybody knows what everybody is doing all over the world. There's no, the days of darkness, if you like, they call it dark days, are over. There's light. The moment news breaks out in Asia, the farthest parts of the world, of the globe, it reaches every part of the world immediately. The moment there's a new product, it scales immediately. By virtue of these developments, it's become a global village, truly a global village. Do we get the point? So I want us to broaden our horizon today and understand that if you're in business already, or you want to get into business, because that's the scope that I'm covering with these slides today, then you must do that business in an unrestricted manner because your market is global. Fortunately, you have people all over the world that are Nigerians in different parts of the world that you may connect with. You also may connect with people from other, other parts of the world that are not Nigerians. It's a connected and a wide world. Go to the next slide. Now, let's look at the fundamental nation begging for young entrepreneurs. Nigeria's a nation begging for young entrepreneurs. We have over 210 million people, depending on the statistics that you are referring to. I believe sincerely from literature that we have over 210 million people. However, there's a slowdown in the economy. There's a slow growth. We've been in and out of recession recently for obvious reasons. There's one, that came about as a result of the pandemic, poor, government policies, NSAS, whatever you may call it. The truth is, we've been in and out of recession. There's a slowdown in economic growth in Nigeria, but the market is 210 million. It's unbelievable that a lot of Nigerians don't see this market while foreign investors everywhere. In a lot of the cases, it's questionable the quality that comes out of those places, but it's okay. Whether the quality is top-notch or low bottom, no jobs. So what must we do? There's a window for entrepreneurship. So we have to set up our own businesses. And this, to be honest with you, is the time. This generation, in this connected world, in this fourth industrial revolution, there's no better time to do that. The other fundamentals, GDP below 2% since 2016 recession, things will pick up and drop. Relative contribution of sectors to Nigerian economic performance has also changed over the years. Before now, it used to be oil and gas. That's just an example. Today, they'll tell you it's digital. The contribution of the digital economy to the overall economy is as significant as oil today. So if you look at telecom, if you look at banking, because banking today is technology, whether you like it or not. It's technology. Banking has gone beyond, brick and mortar. It's now become technology. I work in that space, so I understand it. Now, if you take all the contributions of telcos and banking and
Hello, Mr. Yinka. Okay, it's back.
yes.
Okay, we lost you for a second. Hello? Please continue.
Okay, so if you look at the relationship between the digital economy and oil and gas, you will realize that, things may be at par. I mean, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy always beats his chest to say that, in terms of contribution to GDP, the digital economy is, performing, at par with oil and gas. And the reasons are clear. Now, let's go to investments in startups and telecommunications. Obviously, we know about Paystack. We may know about some of the other investments that have come into the tech sector. These are driven by very smart but young guys, people in their late 20s, early 30s, are the guys behind, these businesses. And I'll tell you why these things are succeeding. because times have changed. The time have come. Agriculture and manufacturing that used to be the mainstay a few years ago, 10, maybe 20 years ago, recording negative growth. Again, times have changed. You go to the next slide. Now, like I said, when I was talking about Paystack, look at the demography of the country. 18 to 39. If you like, extend it to 49. Young people form more than 60%. Some statistics will say 65% of the population in a digital world. What are we doing about that as young people in church? What are we doing about that? If you look at any parish, go to any parish, go to any church. Church today thrives only because, or only if you have a lot of young people that are taking leadership roles or playing leadership roles and bringing ideas, fresh ideas, especially ideas that are based on virtual digital platforms, digital technology, whether it's your word and sound, whether it's your music, whether it's your sermons, or it just have to have components that address this segment. Now, it's not just church. If you go to the business sector, a lot of the guys running businesses that are making sense today, that are profitable today, are very young people within these age brackets. So how do we take advantage as young people of this time and season that we have called the fourth industrial revolution, the era of digital, the era of connected and wired world, the era of virtual? How do we do that? Whether we're starting up a business or we're running an existing business, there's a lot of opportunities or windows that we can take advantage of. I'm not seeing my slide again. Can we go to the next slide, please? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, please?
We can hear you,
Lorna,
sir.
can you hear me?
Hello, Mr. Yinka, we can hear you.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. Now,
Okay.
I would like to dwell a little bit about the market reality post-COVID. Of course, we all understand what COVID globally in terms of how economies had to shut down because of this pandemic. Okay? And the reality that came out of that for most businesses is that you have to transform your business to virtual. You must look for an angle to run your business in a digital manner. Otherwise, you will suffer for it. If you do not make smart decisions to migrate your business to that environment, which young people are very conversant with. And that's the irony of all of this. And I'll tell you why it's an irony. Right? A lot of young people have the knowledge and the skill to play in this time and season and in the environment of digital and virtual, right? But it's all about play rather than real work, rather than real business. So in the post-COVID era, businesses have to migrate. Again, the market demography, I mean the demographic data, 60%, some say 65%. And the platforms are there that shows traffic. The first icon there is laptops or computer, if you like, 16% in terms of traffic. Mobile phones, 81%, tablets, 3%. The other one is game. But what do we do on these platforms as young people that are supposed to lead? Because you have this huge opportunity on your laps. My gods tell me, right? Just and the business potentials or the business opportunity that come from digital, that come from the reality and the transformations that are happening in the marketplace, in the business world. We need to wake up and take advantage. I'll prove some points to you as we go. So there's a huge market at our fingertips. The days are gone when people go and rent shops. I'm not saying don't rent a shop, right? But you can do your business today on a very low budget, very slim budget, and still scale and do a lot better than the man that has a shop in Oyinbo or in Idumota or in Daliko. I can assure you, because your reach is wider using this platform. Your reach is wider. Young people today does not exist. I'm not sure it does. I'll show you a couple of examples. People in your generation that you're supposed to be targeting, that's really your target market, they don't have time. But they can be reached on these platforms. You can see the traffic. These statistics are for Nigeria. You can see the traffic. So you know where to reach people. You know where your market is. Online and virtual, that's where your market is. Your generation understands it, your generation lives it. It's your catchment. I hope we get that. Let's go on to the next one. Now, if we understand the fact that in this generation, we can do a lot of different things using the advantage of the fourth industrial revolution, using the advantage brought about by COVID, because thankfully there are gains with respect to COVID. It's just changing times and seasons. If we realize what's going on, it's just changing times and seasons. As we speak, in the last 1 year, several companies in Nigeria that have adopted digital and online, including but not exclusive to banks, made more gains in 2020 than ever before. I can assure you. I'm part of a company called Secure ID. What we do in Secure ID is to make cards, bank cards, those ATM cards. We also make SIM cards for telco. The business went on as usual. The same for telcos, the same for banking, the same for a lot of businesses that are online. Okay, I'm sure if you ask Linda Keji, I'm not sure her business was impaired. If you ask, people that do business online, do you understand? So we need to change our orientation about business. because of the reality of our times and this season. We can start a webinar that is online. I mean, if you really know what you're doing, people will pay for it. If your speakers and your topics add value, if you choose a theme, right, that addresses people's issues or speaks to people's issues, people will pay for such webinars and conferences that are paid for. You can start with, it doesn't take, it's just WhatsApp for free sometimes to do that. Have topics that will interest your generation. There's another one, which is this one. I don't know if you can see my cursor. It's called Depop. It's an app. You can also, get someone to develop an app for you. You can develop apps by yourselves because these skills are commonplace. Trust me. You have people that are primary school guys writing apps. Trust me. People that are in polytechnics, university graduates, even while in university, writing apps. There's no special thing about writing apps anymore. There's no specialty or special skill interest, right? So these guys have this application called Depop. Depop actually means depopulate your wardrobe. So if you have new clothes or or used clothes, by the way, that you want to sell, you just post it on this thing. The owner are like agents. They stand between you and the buyer and the seller. Do you understand what I'm saying? I can't see my slide again. They stand between you and the seller, and they get a commission. And a lot of young people in Europe are doing transactions on this, putting up their clothes that are new and they don't want any more, or that they've used once or twice and they want to sell. I recall in Nigeria, especially for people that are in very remote areas, people can build an app for used clothes. The market for that we call Bend Down Select. I'm sure you know what I mean. In Okeani, and so I don't know where those guys are. It's huge, huge. Can somebody disrupt that market and bring it online? These are possibilities. There's also I know a few people that do business on WhatsApp. They sell, items that they believe households need, healthcare, supplements that they believe, people need, and they advertise on their WhatsApp business. Others, that's become very popular as well. You can do that. It's business. I know a lot of people also that do, POS. They call it bank agents or agent banking. It's business. You can make money from those kind of things and start from there. The same for real estate. The same for used cars. Do you understand what I'm saying? We can set up online businesses and watch it grow over time. Because all you need really will be customer base. Who are the people in your contact? Which is why that is also important. Who are the people in your contact? On your contact list on your phone? We need to get serious, guys. We really need to get serious. There's a lot of opportunities here in this country. A lot of opportunities. Can we go forward? I want to show you a few more. This is run by very young people. Of course, I talked about real estate online. What does it take? Relate with a couple of real estate agents, right? Get information, have a blog or have a website where you can share this information with your contacts. You may just be lucky. We all know Cars 45. We all know GG.ng. There's one that shocked me recently. My wife told me about this lady, Waneka. Young lady sells, wigs. Of course, the market for wigs in Nigeria. Why can't we put it online and, start a real business? Swift Medicals. These are guys that also, supply, healthcare products online. We all know Jobberman. There's a problem with employment. A young guy thought, look, I can't get a job, but I can start a business helping people who are looking for jobs. Today, very successful business. The owner today is the SA to the governor of Ogun State on job creation and poverty alleviation in Ogun State, the state of origin. Because he's done this successfully, he now has a team of management, people that are looking after the business. Okay. So if we look at all of this, Linda Keji, of course, we know Linda Keji. We know the story, how she started, right? This guy in the middle, I hope you can see my cursor. Very young guy, Asian descent. His YouTube application is called ZHC. Google it. What he does is he paints, actually. That's a skill. He partnered with Apple, the same Apple phone, to set up a YouTube page, and he just paints, as in designs regular phones, and goes around advertising more or less, just bringing attention to YouTube. If you want to customize your iPhone, he does that for a living. The guy today is worth over $3 million. Can we go to the next page, please? You can trade Bitcoins, cryptocurrency at the moment, but I believe it's temporary because the ban on cryptocurrencies is informed by, fraud, intelligence around, people using Bitcoin to launder money and all of that. But I'm sure once those issues are addressed by government, those issues can be resolved. You can trade in commodities online. You don't have to have investment in those commodities. Just know the source. All you're doing in this kind of business is to get a buyer and link to the seller, or you become the seller. Once you get a buyer, you go and source and deliver. You can set up cooking shows online on YouTube and attract huge following. You can have music shows on YouTube to promote music, top 10 gospel artists on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and get hits, and you earn money. You become popular, you become famous. And then from there, you can move to other things. If you're a photographer, photo shoots, pre-wedding, birthdays. You know how Nigerians are. There's just a market in these things, in photography. There's a market everywhere. Any corner that I look these days, I see businesses that can transform using virtual platforms, using digital platforms. And my experience is from the banking sector. Like I said, banks have transformed, at least I would say 70%, 80% to digital. the departments that are bringing the most income to banks today are the digital banking departments. And it will come until so. Next slide, please. Now, how do we go about this? I'm rounding up now. I think I've been here for 30 minutes or a bit more. What do we do to be able to take advantage of this time and this season, either as a business owner who wants to transform businesses, or as someone who wants to start? Before I get into this, I would like to talk about entrepreneurship. A lot of us believe that deal making is business. No, deal making is not business. So if you live your life just trying to do one deal or the other for a living, and they tell you, what do? You say, I'm in business. You're not in business, you're just a deal maker. Okay? Because if you are a businessman, then you're an entrepreneur, really. Your whole mindset becomes the mindset of that of an entrepreneur. And what is the difference? A businessman runs businesses by way of, seeing an opportunity and sticking with it and saying, that's my business, I'm sticking here. Okay, which is good in itself, not deals making. Don't forget, there's a difference between, a real businessman and a deal maker. What I see with a lot of young people is, trying to make a living through deals, basically. And that means that you make money, yes, from that deal, but you spend it because you believe that another deal will come. That's not the mindset of a businessman. So the businessman is known for that business, is permanently and perpetually in that business, right? However, for the entrepreneur, he's an investor. He creates businesses. So he makes money from one business, sets up another business that he sees as the new wave, if you know what I mean. And that's it. And it keeps going. So young people need to start early with the right mindset. We all talk about the celebrated Dangote today. If you go and read about Dangote, he started early, he had a vision, and he ran with that vision. Okay? So I want to challenge us today to adopt some of these strategies about, online business, virtual business, because that's times. These are the times that we live in. So the only challenge that I see is really about, how do I connect to the market? Where do I find the market? Very basic places to start. Join your old WhatsApp group, your school WhatsApp group, secondary school, university, whatever tertiary institution. Join your community-based database, your streets, your associations, your church, your whatever community that you belong to. Join, so that you can have people contact and you can, flow with people. Right? If your school doesn't have a WhatsApp group, set it up. Set it up and grow with it. The bottom line is you need to have a huge social media presence and engage in massive campaigns. And those things don't cost a lot. The world is truly a global village, and the real leverage is social media. You can see all the platforms. I've put them up there. I'm sure we have most of these on our phones. I'm sure we're familiar with most of these. The question is, what are we doing with it? What are we doing with it? I'm going to go to the next slide, which is my closing slide. Again, I'd like to close this where I started because I'm talking to an audience that's basically, Christian. I have the mindset, and this is very true, that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. Do you know what this means? Everything about this life, about this planet, belongs to God. Everything. Gold, silver, copper, oil, everything belongs to God. That's on the one hand, right? Now, it also says that they that dwell in it belong to God. They that dwell in this world belong to God. So the market that we're talking about belong to God. We often, quote that scripture about the hearts of kings are in the hands of God, and he can turn it whichever way he wants. The heart of every man, not just kings. So if I'm trying to do business in an area and I need a certain person to as a destiny helper, more or less, I go to God. And it happens because that man belongs to God. Every man that dwells on earth belongs to God. Proverbs 16:3, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Very correct. I know a certain lady who, when she started out, said, God is my partner in this business, and I will not do anything that contravenes God's rules. Successful today. The next one, Philippians 1:6, being confident of this very thing, that he which had begun a good thing in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. Very correct. If you have done 1 and 2, then of course you're assured of success. Finally, a man can receive nothing except it has been given from heaven. Okay? So as much as the market is there, as much as there are 210 million people thereabout, as much as technology is available, as much as the world is, transforming in our very before, and we're trying to take advantage, we need to, understand that nothing happens behind God. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Thank you very much. I can take questions now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Adeyinka, for that elaborate session. I assume and I trust that all my youth did learn a thing or two. One of the things Mr. Adeyinka said in his session, he said your network is your network. In other words, your connections, the friends and families you have on your phone or in your emails are the people that would help forge us out to the open as we want to be. He mentioned a couple of ideas that can be brought to the light, that can be brought to the limelight. And I know that a lot of times we assume that our small business shouldn't be on social media or shouldn't be digitalized because it's too small. But Mr. Yinka has reminded us that there is really no business that is too small. I mean, there are several businesses we see on social media these days that you actually see them and you wonder to yourself, how did this even become a business? Such things like Errand Girl. All she does is make phone calls to men, families, men, women who need you to help them get 1 or 2 things from either the market or from the store. You collect your money, run the errands, and deliver, and they get paid. Errand girls, social media influencers, dresser, bead making, soap making, makeup artist. I mean, Mr. Adeyinka has advised us and has urged us that we should make the best of technology and the digital world as it is today. We implore everyone to please put your questions together, and please, Mr. Adeyinka, I want to seek your indulgence to please have a little bit of patience with us. We shall be taking our Q&A at the end of the program, just immediately after our next facilitator.
Okay.
Since the pandemic hit, most organizations have taken certain steps to ensure that they stay afloat in the market and also make the best of the resources that they have, and to make sure that they get by even in this pandemic.
Some organizations have gone as far as reducing salaries, deferment of bonuses and promotions, unpaid leaves, or even outright terminations because they are either incapable of taking care of the outrageous number of staff they have, or those staff have been considered as inconsequential or not particularly important to the organization. At this point, we are going to have Ms. Josephine Oviamubo discuss with us business ethics needed to stay in business, to help you stand out as a staff in any organization, to help you stay relevant, and to ensure that we do not become victims of these things that I just mentioned earlier that organizations have done to keep themselves in business. Ms. Josephine is a Nigerian human resource professional based in Lagos, Nigeria. She holds a bachelor's degree in secretarial administration from the Lagos State University, advanced diploma in human resource management from the University of Lagos. She has a master's degree in human resource management and industrial relations, also from the Lagos State University. She is an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. She is currently the Human Resource and Administration Manager at Ladol, with over 15 years of experience covering human resources and administration. Ms. Josephine, I am pleased to announce, is also one of the 7 administrators of FLAME. Please welcome Ms. Josephine as she takes us into business ethics. Ms. Josephine, you're welcome.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Let me know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Adeyinka, for enlightening us about business and about the changes that have happened, in these current times. So this morning, I'll be talking about ethics in business environment. And the reason why we're focusing on this ethics in business environment is a lot of things have happened, and there's need for everyone to adjust themselves. And my focus will be on employees and staff of organizations. Also, business owners can also learn from this to be able to help their personnel. So we'll be looking at the introduction, the workplace ethics, employee-related workplace issues, the change and work disruption, effects of the change, adapting to change as a business, as an individual, and how to help others adapt to change. We're talking about work ethic traits and also virtual meetings and the way forward, then we'll conclude. So the outline might look so much, but don't worry, we'll take it in a very short time. So I would like to start with this quote that says, work ethics is the most important component of being successful. This is according to Cliff. Then we also have another from Rebecca Harkness. Talent is a gift.
Good morning. I said
You have to do it yourself. So let's jump right into it. I won't say so much about business since Mr. Adeyinka has dwelt a lot on business and describing what it looks like. So I just focus on ethics. Ethics is the basic concept and fundamental principle of decent human conduct. I mean, basically how we conduct ourselves, whether in a positive or negative manner, is what we're looking at in terms of ethics. And it defines the conduct of, it defines the code of conduct guiding a person in handling and dealing with others. This is also the same thing for an organization. Ethics in an organization helps to define how relationships are managed within an organization. As we are all aware, a business just refers to an organization and an enterprise, where the people in-house engage in commercial, industrial, and professional activities. It also refers to efforts and activities of individuals. So in recent time, we all know that business is no longer, you don't say business place is one particular location. It can be anywhere because everything is now virtual. Due to technology, people are able to, organize their businesses, online, which doesn't restrict you to any physical location. So business ethics are norms and principles and rules and regulations that helps individual in the workplace. So the sense of, when talking about ethics, the sense of what is right and wrong really differs from one place to another. So for every, take for example, if in the past, you find people putting on masks, you look at them like, are these even normal? But now, because of the current situation and what is happening, mask is now an acceptable, like mode of dressing, because as you're going out, you know that you won't be allowed to enter the office where you're going to or the shopping mall where you're going to, you realize that you have to use the mask. So it's now highly recognized. So ethics can actually be viewed from two angles. We'll be looking at ethics in terms of employees, how they conduct themselves, and organization, how it conducts itself. So our focus, they will really be on the employees as against organization. But for organization, most organizations have policies, procedures, rules, and regulations set up to manage the relationship within the workplace. I mean, this is basically to avoid any chaos, ensure there's fairness in the way people are treated in the workplace. I would like, before I mention some of the employee-related issues, please, I'd like you to indicate if you can still hear me. Please, can you still hear me?
Yes, Ms. Josephine, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll be looking at some work-related issues that have been there before now, but unfortunately, some of these issues are now helping employers to make decisions about who to keep and who not to keep as a result of what is happening now. So I'll touch on some of these things because they really, even if we look at our church groups, you see some of these things in one way or the other. So the fact that we're talking about them in relation to the business environment doesn't mean it doesn't apply to every other activity. So we want to look at accountability. I mean, the question we want to ask ourselves is how accountable are you in the current tasks or assignments that you're being given? Because if you do not, you're not accountable, if you don't provide reports of what you're doing, if you don't build on existing information that you built from the activities you've done, how do you even want to make adjustments for the future? How do you want to even tell your superior or your employer that you are actually carrying out the duties that you're being assigned to do? So these might look so simple and, but the fact remains they affect how things happen within an organization. They also affect how employers make decisions about particular employees within the organization. We also look at things like punctuality. You know that you're supposed to get to the office at 8 a.m., but at 9 o'clock, they're still calling you. That is the point where you then want to say, oh, I'm really stuck in traffic. Ordinarily, what you should have done is just call your supervisor to say, oh, please, I'm running late, I might be this minute late. At least they have an idea that you're on your way, but maybe you're stuck in traffic or something is holding you back. As against not communicating until they reach out to you. So you want to also look at things like inappropriate dressing. Every organization will determine how you dress. Some organizations even go as far as having specific dress code like policy of their policy for each employee. This is to ensure that, I mean, we see what is going on in our environment. We see how people are dressed. People don't care anymore, so inappropriately dressed. You don't want to work in a in a construction site where there are a lot of activities and equipment, and you're not putting on like safety shoes or safety equipment, or you're working at night, you don't have reflective. These are some of the things. Some organizations have actually outlined these things. All we just need to do is follow these rules and regulations. If you know that your organization requires you to put on suits from Monday to Thursday, and on Friday you're then allowed to dress down, maybe like casuals or native, then try as much as possible to follow these rules, because if you do not, you're then going to create issues within the organization. And we should also remember that people are watching us. So they are also doing things like, some people are just there to look at you and say, oh, this guy is dressed like this, let me also do the same. But meanwhile, if you're then dressed in the wrong manner, you're misleading people to do the wrong thing within the organization without you knowing. You also want to look at things like, I mean, handling your personal business during work hours. Sometimes you see some people, take for example, teachers. Sorry to mention teaching, but we know that sometimes when you go to some of these public schools, you see them bring like their vegetables from home to give to the students to help them prepare, or melon to help them peel. It could also be you leaving your office work to do your online businesses, and by the time you're called upon, you realize that you've not really achieved much for that day or that week. And this will then go a long way in making you not achieve your budget or achieve your targets for the week or for the month, as the case may be. You want to look at things like respect for colleagues, because the way you treat people really determine how they respond to you, and this could actually lead to conflict within the workplace. In recent years, you see that there's been a lot of cases in the news, in newspaper, of harassment. You have superiors harassing subordinates, you have business owners harassing the employees, or sometimes people lose their job because they don't succumb to, harassment or bullying. So you don't want to be found wanting in some of these areas. You also want to look at keeping confidential information confidential. Some people will give out information about their organizations to other people outside the organization. And sometimes this goes a long way to put the organization into trouble. So as much as possible, you want to ensure that permissions are taken before sharing information with external bodies. Taking responsibility for decisions made. Sometimes when employees within the organizations are assigned tasks, you realize that they've given you a task to carry out. You maybe delegated this task to some other person and you did not follow up. So when there are now issues in relation to that task that you have delegated, you totally push the blame to the person you have assigned the task to. And in actual sense, you are supposed to also monitor that task, regardless of the fact that you delegated the task. So you want to take part of that blame so that these employees know that if I go all out to make certain decisions, I will then be backed up. Then you are also advised to share whatever decisions you want to make with your superior, because this will also help you to know when a decision is acceptable or is not acceptable. So we can go on and on, talk about this discrimination, talk about professionalism, take for example, the accounting profession. They expect you to give certain accounts, like maybe, just being professional. You don't want to, because you're in the accounting department, you're in charge of money, you don't want to start using company money for your personal use. You also want to make sure that your your records, because I'm sure during any form of training, part of what you are expected to do is really be accountable, monitor your records, keep proper records, so that at the end of the day, even if someone else is taking over such businesses, they have information to work with. That's one. And also, you don't want to start behaving in conducts that are not acceptable by your profession. So as much as possible, you look at your own specific profession. This might just be as a business owner. You decided to say, okay, I have a supermarket. What are you agreeing to within that shop or business that you have? If you want to say, oh, the business owner, I don't want to pick anything from the shelf without making payment, the employees working with you will also know that, oh, if the owner of the business can do this, then we are also expected to do the same. If there's now any form of discount or anything for employees, then you should find out to be able to do this. So that you don't say, oh, because I work in this shop, then I'm free to take what I want because nobody will see me. These things are things that will create problems within an organization. Then you also look at favoritism. We all know what this can lead to. Instead of dealing with things in equal sense, creating a less toxic work environment by making sure that people are treated the same way, fairly, and also with the same rules and regulations. If you do otherwise, then you realize that you're going to make the office environment very toxic, and people are no longer loyal or dedicated to their job because of the things that are happening within the system. So as much as possible, we want to try to make sure that we are not the ones causing these issues. I'd just like to talk briefly on the change and work disruption. I know Mr. Adeyinka spoke a lot about what is happening lately with the changes that have happened. The pandemic actually brought about a major change in the work environment. And this is also same for every other aspect of the organization, both, every other walks of life, both agriculture, business, education, medicine, career, a lot of things have really changed. And this is why I actually call the pandemic the change, because this change is so unexpected. So imagine sometimes in the past we tell employers that, oh, can we please have flexi work arrangement? They'll be like, no, you have to come to the work every day. But now you see people embracing it because it is just the way to go. It is here, and we just have to. That is the only way to manage your activities right now. Otherwise, some people or some organizations are not even willing to come forward to have any physical businesses, except if it's really, really important before they can do that. So this shift, this change has really caused disruption in the business environment. And what do you mean by this? It is no longer the usual process. It is no longer business as usual. It is no longer, oh, I go to work in the morning, I do my work and leave the office. No, it is now you have to look for better strategies to be able to carry out your tasks within the organization. And some of the changes that this disruption has caused are, as highlighted in what I have on the screen. So we talk about first confusion, like nobody knew what they were supposed to be doing. A lot of organizations had to stop their operation. They have to stop businesses because they need to now sit down, think again on how to run this business and also be able to protect their employees and the workplace. As I'm sure we cannot recognize what we have on the screen, inability to cope with changes, depression, unavailable resources due to the fact that there are no movement of materials from one place to the other, no importation, budgets have been cut down, people are losing their jobs and income. Then we also have positive changes, innovation, new things are coming up, skills are being enhanced, multitasking. People now realize that I can no longer be with the one certificate I have. I need to learn new skills. I need to now learn how to use Zoom. I need to now learn how to use Teams. I need to now learn how to do presentations, new practices. Businesses have to now revise their rules and regulations just to be able to meet up with the current changes we have at hand. So, like I said, it is no longer business as usual. So the question now is, what are you doing as an employee? What are you doing as a business owner to be able to meet up with these changes and be able to adapt to the change that we have on ground? So please, I'd just like to have an indication that you can still hear me.
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay. So please, if you have any questions, just put it in the chat section, then the anchor will be able to pick it up and share later. So the question now is, how do we cope with these changes? We said we're going to be looking at, as a business owner, how we're trying to cope. As an individual, how we're going to cope. And also, as an individual, how are you helping other people to cope? So adapting to change, we want to look at, how do I cope as a business? So right now, a lot of businesses realize that, oh, I have to make new business decisions. I have to diversify if required, because like if the business I'm handling before, like take for example, you have comedians, before they will go to show, but now they're embracing more of the virtual platforms, sharing information. You have people, even musicians, you have even market women, sharing things online, because that is the way to go. So they are now learning to use platforms to render their services to as many people, giving them a wider range of customers. So they also develop new policies in line with changes. A typical example is, take for example, in my organization, we had to now create an isolation center. We had to now start carrying out COVID testing so that people coming to work are safe and they also keep the environment safe. So these and some of these things, you have to build policies and procedures around them to guide people at work to know exactly what to do. Then businesses are also making decisions of, I can no longer cope with this financial burden. So the next thing they want to do is reduce operational costs and also reduce overhead costs, like reduce the number of employees, so they require people to do more, as against having one person doing secretarial duties and the person can no longer be useful in every other aspect. Then you look at things like health awareness. Most organizations now, they carry out health awareness. This is to be able to update their staff on what is happening and how they can keep safe. Sharing information within the organization is now very important, more than ever before, because people are not even sure of what to do anymore because of the confusion all over. So the more information you share with employees, the better they understand and be able to carry along with you. You are able to carry them along. Then you look at training and also encouraging multitasking. A typical example is when this change happened, churches, the first thing that happened was there was a shutdown. People could no longer go to church because government, set out rules to say churches or even some certain kind of businesses should no longer open for business. So after some time, when they now figured out, okay, how the changes that needs to happen before this business is open, you see that organizations are now opening up, but also carrying out some of these changes that have been proposed by WHO, by the health organizations within every country. And this is what led to churches adapting by setting up, making arrangements for wash facilities within the church environment. You have businesses also doing the same. You have to provide disinfectant. So the same way you're reducing costs, you are also increasing costs in other areas, because before you don't buy as much toiletries or wash disinfectant and wash facilities, or like tissue paper, hand sanitizer. You don't do that before, but now you're reducing costs, but you're also having more cost in this other areas. So you want to actually look at everything together, and organizations will just have to make decisions about what to do and how to move forward. So you also see stores who are just basically physical stores before, they are now using virtual platforms to sell their businesses, even introducing deliveries to individuals at their places. According to, so we'll now be looking at how you adapt as an individual. First, I'd like to talk about Ralph Emerson's quote. He says, "Bad times have a scientific value. There are occasions a good learner would not miss. Yes, there's disruption, there's confusion, there's pandemic, there's lockdown, but the truth is, a lot of people are actually cashing out in this current situation. A lot of people, you see people giving records of, oh, I have actually made more profit this year or last year than ever before, and this is because as things were changing, they were also making changes to their activities, and this was able to help them to, adapt to the change. And even take, for example, as basic as hand sanitizers and hand wash, you now know that a lot of organizations are going to need this, wash substances. You now know that churches, businesses, they are going to need soap. They are not going to need toilet roll. You see some people going into the manufacturing of some of these things. And if you check well, they are just little things that you need to put together to be able to achieve, to be able to produce this material. So people have actually taken advantage of this situation, and they are able to also give testimony about what they have been able to achieve during this pandemic and the whole situation. So as an individual, you can actually cope by following rules and regulations in the organization. Punctuality, attendance, the way frequent reports, giving feedback, because some of these things, whether you like it or not, business owners are already making decisions on how to reduce overhead costs. So they are going to reduce the employees, definitely. So they are going to make decisions of which employees do I keep and which employees am I going to let go? Like which is achieving more for me, and which of the employees is not really achieving anything for me. Not that they are not achieving anything, but actually want more right now for less, expenses. So the employer is definitely going to be looking at things like an individual's behavior, your skills, education, experience, your performance at work, how you meet up targets, and then how much of the business do you really know. So some of the things highlighted are basic things that we know already, but we just need to be more determined to focus on these things to help us keep our jobs and also help the business grow. So things like meeting your targets and striving to perform high on your performance. Like if it means if your performance is being measured on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, or annual basis, you want to look at the things that they look out for so that you improve yourself in these areas. We look at compliance to new work rules and regulations, personal and professional development. This is the time for you to go back and say, when was the last time I did any training? When was the last time I acquired any skills? So you want to look at these things and help yourself. Then ability to manage yourself and also support other team members. I mean, this is what emotional intelligence is all about. You want to look at how you manage yourself and how you can also relate with other people regardless of who or how they behave, and also how you support your team members, because right now everybody needs that support to survive. Then also, the last point is actually highlighted as learning, learning, learning. You can never stop learning. So take advantage of a lot of free trainings that are online right now, and develop yourself in line with your skills, in line with your profession, and in relation to your job. So I'll just run through some of these basic ethics and some common skills that you can actually acquire. So I highlighted things like, okay, some of them I've mentioned before: emotional intelligence, leadership skills, management skills, communication skills, interpersonal skills. These are things that will help you to cope within your work environment. So now, in recent times, you'll see that there are just some very common things that you find every organization using to help manage this situation, to help adapt in this situation. Things like as basic as use of Microsoft Office. This time is no longer the time where you are a graduate, you don't know how to use computer, because even non-graduates know how they are now learning how to use computer. They are now doing coding. They are now doing graphics. So you as an employee, these are things that you now need to teach yourself or get people to teach you. It is not the time to feel like, oh, I don't want to go to this person because they will feel, oh, so I don't know how to use it. This is the time to humble yourself and learn anything that you think is going to help you on your job, in your individual life, and anywhere you find yourself. Also, the use of learning to use virtual platforms. I mean, this meeting that we're having now, you realize that a lot of people had to learn how to even, yes, you might be using it before. You use WhatsApp, you use before now, people will use WhatsApp, but more than ever before now, a lot of people are now using the video feature on this app, because this is what is happening now. People want to talk to you, yes, but they also want to see you. So the use of these platforms, you want to learn how to use these things. Even use of office equipment. Take, for example, you're a truck driver in your organization. Why not put in interest on how to drive a forklift, or how to drive, every other, or a crane, or a bulldozer, like look for other things that you can also learn in addition to what you're already doing. You can also learn basic graphics, presentation skills, leadership and management skills, administrative skills. People think, oh, is it not just to file documents? But some of these things, if you go to people's offices, you'll see their documents scattered all over. Organizations can no longer afford getting a manager and also paying for a secretary. So you as a manager, you are now mandated to learn how to carry out some of your basic admin stuff, like scheduling your meetings, filing your documents, putting together your reports for presentation. Even sometimes, even if you have a secretary, imagine when you have a meeting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock and you're unable to reach your secretary or your admin officer. What will you do? Will you just sit down and keep waiting till you get to that morning and you're now confused, entering the meeting, stressed out? So it is now time for everybody to really get into learning things that will help them move forward and adapt. Multitasking, I've mentioned this before. Learn as many skills as you can, working towards your next profession. This will really help you in your work organization and in also supporting people around you. So now, how do we help other people within our environment, within our office, within our churches, within our families? You can do simple things by providing support through good listening. People are confused, people are depressed. All they need sometimes is for you to just listen to them. Sometimes you don't even have the answers for them, but the fact that you listen to them is enough. Maybe that's just what they need at that particular time. You also want to support them financially. You know, if you are able to go out of your way to support people financially, help them get direction to what they are supposed to be doing. Help people by adjusting help people to adjust in their area of difficulties. Take, for example, you have an employee who is struggling with a particular task. Why not sit down with this employee and say, okay, or subordinate, why not sit down with this person and say, okay, I see that you're struggling in this aspect. You then check with the person, identify the problem that the person is having. If it's something that requires just a simple putting the person through that process or helping the person to understand that task better so that when you now give them templates or tell them how you are able to go through that same process by giving your own experience, that will go a long way in helping them to adjust that difficult situation. So you also want to identify skills that you have that you can impact on others. A few times we've actually pasted on the Flame platform to say, if you need as basic skills like how to use Microsoft Office, presentation skills, Excel, reach out to us and we'll be happy to train you, and we're still waiting for people to reach out to us because as you can see, these are things that are very important and that will help you cope within your organization. You can also provide advice relating to your profession and educational background. Support people with your other resources. It might not be money, it might just be other resources. Oh, somebody is learning how to sew, they've completed the training process, they don't have money to buy sewing machine, they don't have money to buy a grinder. These are things that you can help people with. And I'm sure they will be very grateful if you can help them do this. So some of these things we've actually mentioned before, but I'll just talk on this quickly in relation to virtual meetings and training. Because ordinarily before now, you would always attend physical meetings, like go to the boardroom, prepare yourself. If there's need for presentation, you'll do it on screen in the boardroom. That's if you have a screen in the boardroom. But now the meetings are now virtual. So it is now important for us to sit down and look at what are the things that we can do to improve my virtual meetings or training. As a facilitator, you want to provide adequate information to participants prior to the meeting or the training, giving participants room for feedback and attendance and take attendance. Because imagine if before now you carry out trainings in your organization and you take physical attendance, you pass around the attendance sheet and everybody puts down their name. Now you have to find a way to take the attendance while people are on the online platform. You can either do this by screen grabbing the attendance list or sometimes downloading the attendance list from the app, whichever app you're using. You are now also expected to plan to attend your meeting. And a typical example is now you have to attend this Zoom meeting. And what do you need to do? You want to be at the right place where you are properly seated for your meeting, you're properly dressed, you check your app. If it's an app that you don't even have before, you want to download the app, you want to make sure you're ready, and you want to prepare your data, before the meeting. You want to prepare your workspace. And what do I mean by preparing your workspace? You don't want to be in a virtual meeting and you feel like, oh, I'm on my bed, after all, it's going to be, audio. And you realize at some point they are now like, okay, we need everybody to turn on their videos so that we're sure that you're there. And your background is just all messed up. You have things flying all over. You don't want to be found in this position, trust me. So that you want to try as much as possible to prepare yourself for the meeting. If you discover that where you are is going to be noisy, take for example, there's no light, you have to run your gen, you want to look at how do I reduce the noise as much as possible. You shut some of the windows if you can, or you relocate to another room if this is possible. As much as possible, find a way. Put your phone on silent or reduce the volume of your phone so that you have less disruption during the meeting. Get writing materials. People find it difficult to go to meetings, physical meetings with writing material, let alone when you're not seeing them. But trust me, this is the time to actually get your writing materials ready for any of your meetings. Then you want to always mute your mic when you're not speaking. This is because sometimes when you have so many people's mic on, it disrupts the meeting. You have a lot of background noise coming from different phones, and this will actually distract people at the meeting. Then also communication, follow up and check with late members while always wait for the speaker to complete a thought before jumping in. Sometimes, yes, you want to jump in with an idea or a question. It's always good to wait for them to complete a thought before bringing up yours. The reason is simple. Sometimes they lose that train of thought after you have finished giving your feedback, and it's then maybe a little difficult for them to go back. Then you want to also take minutes at meetings, highlight action points, because sometimes people go to meetings, they don't write out what they are expected to do to be able to present at the next meeting. So this is the time where you want to do that and also assign people to certain tasks. So the question is, what is the way forward? So the way forward really is, you are not alone in this situation. You are not alone in this confusion. You are not alone in these changes that are happening. You are not alone in this place where you're finding it difficult to find yourself or find the next step. But just acknowledge that it is a difficult time. And organizations, individuals, nations, even the global economy, they are trying to adapt to the current situation. So what you need to do basically is ask yourself, where am I currently? What should I be doing to cope with the changes? What little steps can I take to build my mighty ocean? What can I do to help people around me to cope? If you look at these questions, I'm sure gradually you start putting down things that would help you to cope within this situation. So in conclusion, I'd just like to take Vince's quote that says, the price of success is hard work, dedication to the work at hand, and determination that whether we win or lose, we have applied the best of ourselves to the task at hand. I mean, this simply explains what I've been talking about, from the beginning of this presentation. You have to determine and be deliberate about some things going forward. Otherwise, the world will leave you behind. So, and as Christians, we know that we have hope. And I'll just be quoting a Bible verse, Philippians 4:6, that says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. Peradventure, you find yourself in a situation where you're still finding it difficult to cope. I mean, the heavens are open. So just go straight to your Father and tell him that, Lord, this is what I am struggling with. Help me in this situation. And I want to believe you will definitely get an answer from him. Then also, I'll be quoting Proverbs 3:5-6, which says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will definitely direct your path. So on this note, I say thank you to everyone for listening, and I'll hand over back to our anchor for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Josephine. That was a really enlightening session. I trust and I believe that everybody that tuned in did learn a thing or two. Please, I'd like to confirm if Mr. Adeyinka is still online with us. Mr. Yinka? Ms. Admin, can we unmute Mr. Yinka?
Right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. We are going into the Q&A session now, and we have a few questions for you. Our first question says, how do you know and determine the right business idea in the midst of other ideas?
The right business idea
Yes, please.
in the midst of other ideas.
Yes, please.
Test your idea. Test your idea, research your idea, pray, you're a Christian. But if you're not, what I think is more practical to do really is to test that idea. I mean, the market is there. You can ask questions like who is doing it? Is it a novel idea? Is it an innovation? Is it something that has never been done before? And if so, your chances are 50-50, right? Except you are sure that your fundamentals are in the right places. There's what we call proof of concept. So even if you have an idea or a concept, you need to prove it before you go to market. So you need to do a POC, proof of concept, to test that idea. You just can't rush to market with an idea. An idea is not enough, by the way. An idea is never enough to start a business because there are all manner of ideas out there. And I'm glad the question says in the midst of other ideas. There are ideas everywhere. Okay? Are you the right person to initiate and implement that idea? Can the idea scale a test of time? Will it even scale in the market? There are several ways to test an idea. Nobody should rush to the market to launch, a product or a service or a business on the basis of ideas.
Thank you. Our second question says, how did you develop key partnerships and relationships that gave your businesses the needed clout for visibility?
Okay, so most times, what you need to do is to project your image, is to project yourself. Yourself can be, two-dimensional. One is your person and how, professional you are, your background, what you have been doing for so long, and just to prove that this is your forte, this is your area, okay? And people will start trusting your capabilities and your capacity. Now, if that is fine, then you then need to project the business. It's called branding, right? You put your business out there. I mean, even if you're not, even for instance, let me talk about, Intermark Consulting at the beginning. We were very new, 2000, yeah, 2000, we didn't know anybody, even though we were in that space already, I'd worked in that space. But we were running a couple of training programs, a couple of, conferences, just to put the brand out there so that there can be brand association. People can associate us. That brand can associate that brand with that industry. And there's time. Time plays a big role here. So over time, the brand got accepted, the person got accepted, and you then begin to enjoy the benefits of the time you have invested building the brand and building the personalities around the brand. And that's it. That's it really for me.
Okay, thank you. Someone sent in the questions and he asks, how do you balance our faith as Christians and going out into these activities that probably will introduce to things that contradict our faith as Christians? In other words, how do we
Well, I
balance
saw
our
that
faith
question.
with work?
I saw that question, and I was a bit not sure how to answer it, because if faith is supposed to play any role, which it does, it's supposed to play a very positive role. I mean, I listened carefully to Josephine, and a lot of the things she said had to do with your person in terms of, how you carry yourself, the kind of behavior at work and outside of work. Are you punctual? Are you now? Those are kind of attributes that faith promotes. I can categorically confirm to you that a lot of people that run top organizations today are either very good Christians or very good Muslims. You understand? So faith generally should help you, okay? Should help you in decision making. Because again, like it said, like Josephine said, if you have a challenge in an area, take it to God. So why should that be a hindrance to business? If you're a spiritual person, you should hear God. God should talk to you about your business. You should trust God if you're a faith, filled person. You should trust God. You should move knowing that God is with you all the way. So for me, faith plays a major role, but to help advancing your business, I don't see it as a challenge, really. I don't see it as a detriment at all.
Thank you. If you could travel back in time to day one of your startup and have 1 minute with your former self to communicate any lessons you have acquired with the intention of saving yourself mistakes and heartache, what would you tell yourself from 31 years ago?
That will travel in time. I don't know whether it's space or train or the mode of that's travel, the mode of transportation. But I think I understand the question. So if I look back, from when I started to where we are today, obviously the kind of things that I know now, the knowledge that I've acquired over time would have come to play. Now, I used to say to people that mentorship is important. Probably I didn't have a mentor at the time I started. I just launched into the area that I'm working now, or that I'm doing business now, because I had some experience working for other people, and I thought that was sufficient. But if I had a mentor at the point, even though I picked up mentors along the way, just to be clear, but if I had a mentor at the time that I could sit down with on a regular day-to-day basis to check my idea, and I probably would have learned a thing or two, some of which I now know, okay, that would make my journey faster and quicker. I probably would have been where I am now, maybe 10 years ago, maybe, I don't know, whatever years ago. But overall, I mean, I thank God. All things work together for good. But the truth of the matter is good, and that would be my advice. It's good for people to have, business, mentors or personality that have walked that path before that you want to toe now, so that it really helps to fast track that process.
Okay, so in our society today, especially for the millennials, we have come to realize that a lot of people that we would hope to use as or to have as mentors are usually too busy to create out that time, and which is why most youths eventually go into business by themselves without even having any idea what it is they are supposed to do. So for youths like that, how do we deal with competition in this business?
Okay, I think there are two questions that you're putting together as one. Let me address them separately. If you're a youth and you believe that, or you are experiencing something that signifies that your mentor doesn't have time for you, then you are doing something wrong. I can assure you there is no mentor in the sense of a guardian that will see the right personality and the right business sense that will not want to be part of that success story. Okay? So that youth should check himself. There must be something that needs to be addressed. And that's the fact. It's either the kind of things you're talking about on a regular basis, this guy man just thinks you're wasting his time, or you are just not receptive to the light that this person is putting forward for you, right? And to be honest, nobody wants their time wasted. Now, with respect to competition, again, I don't know why competition should be an issue. I don't know why competition should be an issue. Do you know that there were people selling cement in Nigeria before Dangote? Do you know that?
Yes.
Do you know that there are people selling whatever is the fast-moving thing? Right? So it's about strategy. It's about strategy. What's your unique selling point? What's your USP? What's your go-to-market strategy? How do you want to launch out? How do you want to differentiate yourself? I see, to be honest with you, I see competition as a blessing because it means that they are there ahead of me and I can learn from their shortfalls. That's what competition means to me. I never get frightened by competition. I learn what they are doing wrong that I can leverage on. So if you see competition as a problem, then you are in a wrong business. Otherwise, there must be a leverage. There must be something you can do differently and better to take market share from that competitor until you become a dominant player in that space.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have another question. So I'll just read this out as the person sent it. This market has to do with being creative. There is a myth that creativity is a gift from our creator that is given to certain people. Doesn't this market require creativity? Do I have a way in the digital market if I am not a creative person? Or will you say it is not true that creativity is a gift to certain people?
Have you read the book Talent is Overrated? I think you should go.
Hello, Mr. Yinka.
Is overrated.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Now you can?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Now, I started by saying, have you read the book Talent is Overrated? Right?
Who's the author, please?
Because a lot of the time, what we regard as talent is the outcome of hard work that somebody has put into an activity or a process. I'm not ruling out the place of talent, right? I agree with the concept of gifted persons or gifted children, or I agree with that. Or is God partial?
No.
Have you asked for such gifts? Have you worked on becoming talented, so to speak, in those areas? Have you, I mean, it's just that we don't, you know, I'm so sorry, I need to digress a bit. Remember when a certain man said that Nigerian youths are lazy? I don't know, I can't remember, I don't know who said it, or somebody somewhere said Nigerian youths are lazy. We remember that, right? Don't quote me, I beg. Can we not record this? So, what makes the difference between that creative person that you are regarding as creative and such a person that you are regarding as not creative? In a lot of cases, is hard work. Again, Josephine spoke about hard work. It's hard work. Hard work either in practice or in the place of prayer. If I need a gift, I will be tenacious in prayer about it. And I will, upon that, I will add hard work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Yinka. So we have one more question for you before we let you go. How would you relate the saying, failing forward, to your years as an established entrepreneur?
That's one of my favorites. What do you call it now? Sayings, actually. That's one of my most referred to quotes. There's a book actually called Failing Forward, which I would recommend, because it's important that we fail forward. I mean, everybody fails once in a while, but what failing forward speaks to is the fact that when you fail, that's not the end of life. You can learn from that failure, or what you know, is also perspective. Whatever you think is the failure, just learn from it. It may just have happened to teach you one or two lessons. And that lesson, you can move to the next level. It's like when you're writing a test or an exam, right? You're writing that exam because you want to move to the next phase of your life or of your business or whatever. So there's nothing wrong with failing, and I'm sure you've read several books that speak to that. Absolutely nothing wrong with failing. But you just have to learn the lesson and then move to the next phase. So I see it every day, that concept of failing forward. I experience it every now and then, but it has never stopped me. It can never stop me.
Thank you, Mr. Adeyinka. We totally appreciate the time out that you have spent with us. I see that we do not have any questions from Ms. Josephine, so I'll just go ahead to wrap up our program for today. A very big thank you to our facilitators. We say thank you to our pastor, our PICP in charge of the profanes. I say thank you to my team. It was a really good session of immense and in-depth learning. And to my Flame members, what are the little business ideas you have that you've been toying with? What is that God-given talent that you can turn to profit using technology as we know it today? How are you empowering yourself and ensuring that you are learning and growing? How are you converting the contact on your phone to clients and business partners? Have you taken time out to do a self-assessment to see where you need to improve yourself and be better? We have been reminded by both our facilitators today that it is no longer business as usual. And to continually stay relevant, we should be ready to adapt to change, keep busy, and remember that in that business, God is the CEO and you are the staff following instructions. And at this point, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for the time you took to join our webinar. I trust you learned a thing or two. For anyone that would like to ask more questions but was unable to ask today, please send us an email to flamelp24youths@gmail.com. The email will be posted in the comment section just before we log off. And at this point, I'd like to say again, thank you for letting me be your host. I remain Anna Bisong. I wish you a lovely weekend. Thank you very much.
You are vibing to the sound of DJ Chris.
You are the way, truth, and the life, Jesus. You never leave me, no forsake me. Except you build a house, the builders build the faith. Me, I go follow you to go. Anywhere you lead me, I don't go. My life is for your glory, your glory. Chinedumo, Chinedumo, Chinedumo. Taking me higher, Jesus. You never leave me, no forsake me. Chinedumo, Chinedumo, Chinedumo. You're taking me higher, Jesus. My life is for your glory, your glory. You make the little things I do